Let me start by saying something I mean. What you've built is hard. The consistency. The real kind, not the "I went twice this week" kind. The mornings you got up before the sun because you made a deal with yourself. The nights you stayed in because you had a plan and you trusted it. The workouts you dragged yourself through when your body was begging you to stop. Most people can't do that. Most people hit snooze and spend the day negotiating with their own guilt. You didn't. You showed up. 200 days. 300. Maybe more. That means something. I'm not here to take it away. But I need to ask you one thing. And I need you to sit with it for a second before your brain starts building a defense. When was the last time you took a full day off? No workout, no routine, no active recovery, no optimized rest, no calculating how to make up for it tomorrow, and felt genuinely okay about it? Not guilty, not anxious, not like the walls were closing in. Just at peace. Resting because you chose to, not because your knee gave out or you caught a flu that pinned you to the mattress for 3 days. If you can answer that easily, great. This video might not be for you. But if that question just made something tighten in your chest, if the idea of a completely unstructured, unoptimized, purposeless day off makes your palms sweat more than a deadlift PR, then something worth examining is happening underneath your discipline. Because here's the thing nobody in the self-improvement world will say to you. Discipline, by definition, is a choice. You choose to train. You choose to wake up early. You choose the hard path over the comfortable one. That's real. But if you can't choose to stop, if the thought of stopping feels less like a break and more like free-falling, then what you're running on isn't choice. It's compulsion. And the only difference between a compulsion and a discipline is whether you could walk away tomorrow and still feel like yourself. This video isn't going to tell you to quit. It's not going to call you weak or tell you your habits are wrong. What it is going to do is help you figure out whether your discipline is actually serving you or whether it's a very impressive, very exhausting way of managing an anxiety you've never had the space to look at. And if it is anxiety, that's not a weakness. That's information. And it changes everything about how you should relate to your own routine. Here's why this is almost impossible to catch on your own. Everything around you is telling you that what you're doing is great. Your gym friends call you the machine. Your family says, "I wish I had your willpower." Your Instagram followers double-tap your streak screenshots with fire emojis and beast mode in the comments. The self-improvement content you consume, the 75 hard challenges, the no 0 days philosophy, the podcasts where every guest credits their 4:30 a.m. alarm for their success. All of it treats rigid consistency like the highest human virtue. You're surrounded by a culture that doesn't just accept what you're doing. It worships it. And when everybody's clapping, who's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, are you okay?" Think about what gets rewarded online. The 365-day streak post. The "I trained with a fever because winners don't stop" caption. Now picture posting. "I skipped the gym today because I was tired, and I feel fine about it." Silence. Maybe a worried DM from your accountability partner. Because in this world, rest isn't content. Rest looks like quitting in slow motion. So you learn, from thousands of micro-interactions, that your value is tied to your consistency. That people admire you because you never stop. And the moment your worth is inseparable from never stopping. Stopping becomes the scariest thing you can do. That's not motivation. That's a hostage situation with a ring light. In clinical psychology, there's a term for this: ego-syntonic behavior. Behavior that aligns so perfectly with your self-image that you can't experience it as a problem. If your identity is the disciplined one, then rigid discipline doesn't feel like rigidity. It feels like you. An alcoholic who hates drinking knows something's off. Someone who compulsively exercises and calls it discipline doesn't, because the behavior and the self-image are the same shape. It fits. Things that fit don't get questioned. But you know the parts that never make it to the highlight reel. The guilt that rushes in when you oversleep. Even once. Even by 20 minutes. The irritability when a friend's birthday dinner cuts into your meal prep window. The low-grade anxiety humming through an entire vacation because you can't follow your schedule. The mental math you run every time something disrupts the plan. How much did I lose? How far behind am I? Those aren't signs of commitment. Those are symptoms. And nobody around you calls them symptoms because everybody around you has the same ones. So the culture rewards it. Your identity depends on it. Your social circle reinforces it. No wonder you've never questioned it. But there is a way to test whether what you're running on is purpose or fear. 3 questions. And I'd bet the answers will land different than you expect. Discipline isn't binary. It sits on a spectrum. One side, authentic discipline, purpose-driven, flexible, can absorb a bad week without crisis. A person running on authentic discipline skips a workout and thinks Thursday without their identity wobbling. Other side, anxious discipline, fear-driven, rigid, brittle. Miss one thing and the internal world destabilizes. Most people live somewhere in between, and the position shifts. Rock-solid, authentic discipline in your finances, pure anxiety running your fitness. The point isn't a label. It's seeing clearly where fear might be steering something you assumed was running on choice. 3 tests. Do them honestly. Nobody's watching. Test 1. The day off test. Picture this. Actually picture it. Don't skim. Tomorrow morning, for reasons completely outside your control, your entire routine is gone. No workout, no early alarm, no journaling, no meal prep. A fully unstructured, unproductive day. Now pay attention to your body. Not your thoughts. Your body. Did your jaw clench? Did something tighten behind your ribs? Did your brain immediately start problem solving? Okay, but I could at least do push-ups at home. Authentic discipline hears that scenario and shrugs. Fine. Back at it the day after. Anxious discipline hears it and fires a stress response, like something genuinely dangerous is about to happen. The intensity of that physical reaction is the diagnostic. If a hypothetical day off activates your fight or flight system, your nervous system has classified not performing as a threat. That's not discipline running your schedule. That's your survival wiring. Test 2. The why test. Pick the habit you're most proud of. The one you'd never break. Now ask yourself why you do it. Take the first answer and push deeper. If, because it keeps me healthy, leads to, and if I stopped being healthy for a week, nothing catastrophic would happen. You're on solid ground. Purpose is driving. But if the honest chain sounds more like, because if I stop, I'll lose everything I've built. Or, because I don't know who I am without this. Or, because I'll feel like a failure and I can't handle that feeling. The fuel isn't purpose. It's fear. And fear-driven engines don't run on food and sleep. They run on cortisol, which is why you're this tired even though you're supposedly winning. Test 3. The identity test. This one goes deeper. Ask yourself, if tomorrow an injury, a life change, something permanent, removed your ability to maintain your routine, who would you be? If the answer comes easy, I'd still be me, just adjusting. Your discipline is a tool you carry. If the answer triggers blankness, a falling sensation, a don't even go there, your discipline has fused with your identity. And when discipline is who you are, maintaining it isn't a preference. It's survival. You're not training because you want to be strong. You're training because not training feels like dissolving. You don't need me to score you. You felt what you felt. If one of those tests landed, a tightness, well, that's different, a quick urge to argue. Then some piece of what you call discipline is running on anxiety. That's not a verdict, it's a pattern. And patterns can shift. If something just shifted in your chest, if one of those tests landed harder than you wanted it to, hit like, not for me, as a bookmark. So you can find this when you need it at 5 a.m. on a Tuesday, and the alarm is screaming, and your body is begging, and you're not sure anymore whether getting up is strength or just fear in workout clothes. Because this pattern didn't come from nowhere. There's an engine underneath it. And once you see it, the streak, the guilt, the panic when something disrupts the plan, all of it starts making a different kind of sense. Let me tell you what's actually underneath the 200-day streak. It's not about fitness. It's not about health. It's not even about discipline. It's about control. Think about the parts of your life that feel uncertain. Career, uncertain. Relationships, uncertain. Whether you're making the right calls, whether you're enough, uncertain. Now think about your routine. The alarm at 5, predictable. The workout, predictable. The macros, the streak, predictable. Effort in, result out. Every single time. Your routine is the one domain where you have total control, where the math works, where you can measure your worth in reps and days and screenshots. And when everything else feels like standing on sand, the routine is concrete. Your brain learned this, not in words, but in the way completing the routine quiets the noise. Not because the deadlift fixed your career uncertainty, but because controlling something soothes a nervous system that feels out of control everywhere else. Psychologists call this compensatory control. Dr. Aaron Kay's work at Duke showed that when people lose a sense of control in one area of life, they unconsciously tighten control in another to compensate. It's not weakness, it's architecture. Your brain building walls where it can because the world keeps knocking them down where it can't. And like every coping strategy, it works. Until it starts eating you alive. Here's where it breaks. Anxiety adapts. The routine that calmed you 6 months ago now needs to be stricter to produce the same relief. One workout becomes 2. The 6 a.m. alarm creeps to 5, then 4:45. The diet tightens. The margin for deviation gets thinner. Because every time anxiety shows up and you silence it with more control, you're teaching your brain, the only thing between me and chaos is this system, which means every disruption, a sick day, an injury, a wedding, doesn't register as an inconvenience. It registers as the floor disappearing. You're not becoming more disciplined. You're becoming more dependent. I figured this out the hard way. Vacation in Portugal. 5 days, no gym, first real break in 18 months. By day 2, I was miserable. Not because of the trip, Lisbon at sunset, food I'd never tasted, streets that made you want to walk for hours, but I couldn't enjoy any of it because I hadn't trained. I was calculating macros at a restaurant while my partner was trying to show me the view. She looked at me and said, "You know you're not actually here, right?" That sentence cracked something I'd been sealing shut for years. I wasn't disciplined on that trip. I was imprisoned. The routine followed me across an ocean, and I let it ruin the 1 week that was supposed to be about being alive, not optimized. And that's the part nobody talks about. You're never actually resting, even on rest days, because the anxiety engine is always idling underneath, monitoring the streak, bracing for disruption, maintaining the illusion that control equals safety. Underneath all of it, the alarms, the streaks, the rigid schedule, there's one fear. Different for everyone, but always there. If I stop being productive, I'm worthless. Or, if I'm not the disciplined one, nobody will respect me. Or, if I lose control here, I lose it everywhere. That fear is the engine. The routine is the exhaust pipe, and no amount of 5 a.m. alarms will quiet the engine. They just make the exhaust louder. So the anxiety is the engine. The routine is the vehicle. The question now is, how do you keep the vehicle, the habits, the work ethic, the consistency, without being driven by the engine? That takes something the self-improvement world almost never teaches: the deliberate practice of letting something be imperfect. I'm not asking you to dismantle what you've built. I know what it cost: the mornings, the meals, the social events you skipped. I respect that. What I'm asking you to do is stress test it, the way an engineer tests a bridge, not to destroy it, to find out if it holds. Because right now, your discipline might look like steel from the outside, but if it can't bend, it's not steel, it's glass. And glass doesn't flex, it shatters. 3 practices. Not to make you less disciplined, to make your discipline something that lasts. Practice 1. The intentional miss. Once a week, deliberately break one element of your routine. On purpose, with full awareness. Skip the workout. Sleep past the alarm. Eat the thing that's not on the plan. Leave one box unchecked. And then, this is the actual practice. Don't fix it. Don't compensate tomorrow. Don't double the next session. Just sit with it and watch what happens inside. The first time you do this, your body will react before your mind catches up. There's this hollowness in your chest when the alarm goes off and you don't get up, like the morning lost its shape. Restless energy in your legs around the time you'd normally be lifting. The guilt doesn't start as a thought. It starts in your stomach, like hunger, but sharper. Like something's wrong even though nothing is. And then, maybe 45 minutes later, it fades. Your shoulders drop half an inch. Your jaw unclenches. And there's this quiet that doesn't feel like emptiness. It feels like space. Breathing room you haven't had in years. That's what flexibility feels like. And for someone who's been gripping this hard for this long, it's almost disorienting. This isn't random advice. It's the same principle behind exposure response prevention. A core technique for OCD and anxiety. You trigger the anxiety deliberately and prevent the compulsive response. Dr. Jonathan Abramowitz's work at UNC shows that repeated exposure without the safety behavior gradually rewires the threat response. Your intentional miss is a microdose of that. Each one teaches your nervous system. Deviation isn't danger. Practice 2. The purpose audit. For every habit in your routine, write down why you do it. Then ask, is this driven by want or by fear? I train because I enjoy how my body feels, and I want to be healthy for decades. Want. Keep it. I train because if I miss a day I feel like garbage, and I'm terrified I'll lose everything. Fear. Flag it. You don't stop the habit. You rebuild the why. Swap, because I'll hate myself if I don't, with, because I'm choosing this for a reason I can name out loud. The behavior looks identical from the outside, but the engine changes from cortisol to something sustainable. Practice 3. The flexibility score. Stop measuring discipline by consistency alone. Start measuring your flexibility. How well you absorb disruption and return without crisis. 3 questions. How quickly do you return to the routine after a break? Not, did I prevent the break? That's rigidity. How much emotional damage does a single missed day cause? If it ruins your weekend, your flexibility is low. And can you modify the routine when life changes without feeling like you're betraying yourself? Think about a tree in a hurricane. The rigid oak, the one that never bends, that stands perfectly straight through every storm, snaps when the wind hits hard enough. Trunk broken. Roots torn out. The willow, the one that bends almost to the ground, that looks like it's losing, springs right back when the wind stops. Not a branch broken. Your 400-day streak is the oak. The flexible discipline I'm describing is the willow. Less dramatic, less Instagrammable, and still standing when everything else is firewood. That's the upgrade. Not less discipline. Better discipline. The kind that serves you instead of trapping you. I want to say something to you that the self-improvement world never says, that your coaches don't say, that your streak counter doesn't say, that the fire emojis under your progress photo don't say. You are allowed to rest, not as a strategy, not as active recovery, not as a calculated deload week designed to optimize next month's performance. Just rest, because you're tired, because your body asked, because you feel like it. That's enough. It was always enough. This week, I want you to do the hardest thing on this list. Pick one day. Cancel one piece of your routine. Not because you're quitting, because you're testing. You're finding out whether your discipline belongs to you or you belong to it. When the guilt shows up, and it will, don't argue with it. Sit with it. Watch it peak. Watch it fade. Notice the world doesn't end. Notice you're still you. Still capable, still committed, even without today's checkbox. That experience, surviving the imperfection, is worth more than 100 perfect days, because it proves your worth isn't stored in the routine. It was in you the whole time. Some of you are already building a counter-argument. This doesn't apply to me. Maybe, but a person who's actually free doesn't flinch when someone suggests they take a day off. If the suggestion itself feels like a threat, that's data. You built something real. The consistency, the sacrifice, the strength. Real. I'm not asking you to let go of it. I'm asking you to hold it with an open hand instead of a clenched fist. A clenched fist holds tight for a while. Then the fingers cramp, the arm shakes, and you drop everything at once. An open hand carries something for years, because it's not afraid to let go. Real discipline isn't the inability to stop, it's the freedom to stop, and the quiet confidence to start again. Which test hit you hardest? The day off test, the why test, or the identity test? Drop it in the comments. No explanation needed. If you're not ready to say it here, say it to yourself tonight. That counts. And if this shifted something, subscribe. I make content that respects your strength enough to question it. Go rest. On purpose.